and we are live and we're going to kick it off.
One thing about the countryside and country folk, and especially shooting, it turns young boys into gentlemen and young girls into ladies.
Yeah.
And I was always competitive.
Yes, you wanted to win.
You've got to dig your heels in and make the best of what you've got.
Hello and welcome to the Farmette podcast. I'm your host, Tamara Warhurst, and this is a show where we talk about the importance of the countryside and how it has shaped my guest's life. I have asked my guests to choose from a selection of themes from the countryside that have directly impacted their life. My guest today grew up in extreme poverty in a polluted South Yorkshire pit village, where hunger shaped much of his childhood. These brutal experiences, however, have defined the man he is today, because through necessity, he gained a deep practical knowledge of wildlife and the countryside. Later in life, he sees the harsh years as the making of him and as the foundation of country values, of which he later passed down onto his own children. These led him into shooting sports, where he rose to the highest level of the sport, representing both England and Great Britain, winning gold as part of the senior FITASC team, and later individual world gold in the Veterans World FITASC Championships, all with a glass eye. His YouTube channel, which is focused on British field sports, especially clay and game shooting, with coaching clips and high bird shooting and equipment testing videos, has thousands of subscribers and millions of views. Dave Carrie, welcome to the Farmette podcast. This is your rural life.
Oh, thank you, Tamara. Fantastic introduction.
Well, I hope I've done you a bit of justice and managed to fit in all those incredible achievements that you've done in your life. Tell me first that I've got to ask you, how did you come to have a glass eye?
Very early on in life, when I was 11 years old actually, and we used to have a little wreck at back of our terrace houses, and we used to play kick out can, hide and seek, and occasional football. And on this particular time, we were playing football.
Yeah.
And there was somebody sniping us out of the bedroom window with an air rifle. So.
No way.
It shot one of the lads in the backside. So we all run to what we call the dustbin hole, where people kept the bins.
Yeah.
We got hit at the back of there, and of course, curiosity killed the cat. I poked my head round the corner to see if he'd gone, and he was waiting for me and shot me in the eyeball. I don't think he intended to shoot me in the eye. I think it was just by accident, really. He probably just intended to shoot me, but not in the eyeball.
Yeah.
And quite serious then, because obviously it went straight through my eyeball, just touching part of my brain. That's why I'm a bit daft sometimes. But
no, not
take
at all.
the eye out, you see, to get to the pellet. They couldn't operate anywhere else.
Oh.
So that's how I finished up. From early on in life, we just.
Dave, that's wow. Well, what a wound. What a sort of part of history. Yeah. Now, talk to me about growing up in Scarborough Corner. The necessity you said to survive has made you the man that you are today, a true countryman. And it sounded pretty harsh, but were you happy?
Well, we were always. When I think of it now, I think, well, yeah, we had a good life, really. Although people say to me, "What do you remember most, dear, when you were a kid?" It's always been hungry, because we didn't have access to food like people have today. Both my parents worked. My dad worked down the pit. My mother worked at the mills. That was just for survival.
Yeah.
And even when just to give you a good idea of what wages were like in them days, when I started down the pit at 15, 16-year-old, we got £26 per week. And then we went training for 6 months. After we'd done a 6-month training, you went on £29 per week, not per hour, per week. All right? And that was going down the mine. But that puts it into context what wages were like, But you could buy a lot of things for a shilling,
Yes, yeah.
I'm nearly 70-year-old, so a lot of people from 60 onwards in the 60s and in the 70s will be able to conquer and understand where I'm coming from. But South Yorkshire was a massive industrial part of the world. Sheffield was the industrial heart of the world at one time or another, going back
Yes.
100 years. Well, going back less than that, 50 years, I say, when I was a kid. And we were surrounded by coal mines. It's Barnsley, one of the biggest coal fields in the country. And within a short walking distance of our little terrace house, you could walk to 6 mines, and it was,
Wow.
and then a short bus trip to Sheffield, 20 minutes down the road, the massive steelworks, the rolling mills, and what is now called Meadowhall Centre. You've probably heard of Meadowhall, a big giant Meadowhall Centre, massive shopping centre. It was the first big shopping centre in England. Really.
In England, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that used to be Hatfield. Steelworks, covered 200 acres.
Wow.
And then where Sheffield Wednesday is now, the football ground. When we were looking for a job, they used to start at one end, and either side of the road were little craft centres, little spoon polishing foundries. All the way down the road, you could go anywhere and get a job, but it was always work. It wasn't.
It was something with your hands. It was
It
crafts.
was something.
Yeah.
I mean, before I went to the pit, I went polishing knives and forks and spoons. That was my first job in Sheffield.
Yeah.
I lasted about 6 months with that, and finished up down the pit then because it was more money.
Yeah. The necessity, you say, when you remember just being very hungry, the necessity to sort of, trapping animals, foraging, living off the land. Yeah. I take it you didn't know any other way. That was just how it was.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to get then kids could go anywhere. There were no leashes and handcuffs on you there. You could go anywhere as long as you came back when it was dark. Before it got dark, you were literally out. 12 or 14 hours all day. When you got your shorts on and a pair of plastic sandals. That's all we had for shoes.
Yeah.
Cheap things, and we used to have a what we call a bottle of council pop, which is water. we call it council pop.
Council pop. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, pack your salt and vinegar crisps or prawn crisps were out then when I was a kid. That were only you only got 2 flavours and were prawn flavoured and salt and vinegar. You put your own salt out, a little blue thing on them, And we used to have, as I say, a bottle of council pop and packet of crisps or bread and dripping, a couple of slices of bread and dripping in the old loaf bag, the old bread bag.
Yeah.
And then we used to be off them for the day. And only thing we used to do then it was like a little raiding party, And we used to wander all over the place. And I can remember a place called the Egan's, a massive waterfowl place now. It's a protected place now, but in them days, it was like a haven to us. Swimming out, we'd be swimming out there to, you get the cook's nests, get the coot eggs, and water hen's eggs. And then you used to find the little dab's nests, and that was like a little wig, made out of weeds, and you used to lift the lid off, and there'd be a couple of eggs in there, and we'd take
them home. Yeah.
Well, we always took half of what was there. We never took everything. We knew
respectful.
We were respectful, but also hungry, and then we'd go and find somewhere to camp up and then we'd have a bean can or something. We found in somebody's dustbin, clean all that down. We'd crack all these eggs in bean can, and we were like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
I love it. And you obviously became, like hunting for animals and foraging and trapping animals. You obviously became very good at it. Were there any tricks that you sort of used to use all the time?
I mean, it was very polluted, our area, and obviously imagine the industry we had.
Yes. Yeah.
And the pits used to pump out from underground to keep them from flooding. They used to constantly pumping the water from underground, which was what we call a red ochre. And it used to come out, it was just like rust, the colour of the water.
Oh, I
That
see.
used to be pumped straight into the dikes, you see. So a lot of our areas were polluted anyway. And you
Yeah.
used to get people that don't believe it, but we used to trap white blackbirds and white sparrows, or pied sparrows and pied blackbirds. They were like canaries then, but there were that many of them then, because that was something to do with the pollution, you see. And we used to set, even as kids, we'd get 3 or 4 house bricks, right, some lollipop sticks, set set one of the bricks up like a doorway, a chamber sort of thing,
Yes.
a top
Yeah.
door, and then balance the lollipop sticks, prop the brick up, and then put some bread or crumbs or anything in the
Inside.
centre.
Yeah.
Soon as a bird landed on, luckily, if you balance it right, soon as a bird landed on the lollipop stick, down the brick came. It either it either killed them or it kept them alive. But we used to eat stuff like that, you
Yeah.
see. And
And would you take it home to your parents and be like, "I've got dinner," or would you literally
no,
fire up a little fire and eat it there?
we just get a little fire going, and we at certain times at season, you see, we'd be out raiding taty fields, spud.
Yeah.
Times we planting spud all over. Well, they used to garden with the shotguns then. So, because everybody was trying to they're all trying to nick them, you see. So they'd be planting radishes, potatoes, anything that were edible, even
Yes.
beetroots. They used to, and one of the first crops that we used to get early on were rhubarb. South Yorkshire was one of the biggest rhubarb growers. A lot of people don't know this, but
I
South
didn't
Yorkshire
know
was
that.
massive.
Yeah.
It still is. It's a massive rhubarb grower. That we used to nick a bag of sugar from the local shop, and we'd go to rhubarb where they used to grow rhubarb. We'd get in the middle of the field, you see, so nobody could see them. And we
So
would,
you're hiding in amongst it.
yeah,
Yeah.
soon as the rhubarb, we used to wait a while. As soon as it started showing a bit of red, on the stalk, we'd be in there with two bag of sugar. We'd be
Pouring his sugar on there.
sticking the rhubarb in the bag of sugar, and it was that green sometimes. You go on with
Oh.
stomachache. You see, that used to make yourself badly. You used to eat too much. You see,
Yeah.
and then we used to go on little forays to fish. But obviously when we were kids, like 9, 10, 11 year old, 3 or 4 of us, and we used to go hunting mice and stuff like that. There used to be at one part of on one cover, they used to dump all the old mining hats in the field. There were oak tin sheets and everything. Every tin sheet you picked up, or an old mining hat you looked under, there'd be a mouse in it.
Perfect.
We tried to get it with catapult, you see. Just little hunters in his own little way, But
Yeah.
it were
Were
learning
you
about
were you
wildlife.
quite nifty with a catapult?
Yeah, I could handle a catapult, yeah. And I mean, even sand martins, there used to be thousands of them when we were kids, and we'd sit on that banking on the river banking, because the nest in the banking, you see, and when the drill into the banking, make a hole, make the nest, and we were waiting for them with catapult. And we'd have hundreds of shots before we got one.
Yeah.
But it was just
Yeah.
sport to us. I mean, we never bothered eating anything like that. But it was just sporting, first man to get one, But he's fired hundreds of pebbles out of the catapult trying to get one, And sometimes we were successful. And these are all going back to when we were kids. That's what we used to get up to,
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard because I think about, you doing that, and there's a part of me that's like, what a wonderful free childhood you had. Yet it was obviously tainted with the hunger and the poverty as well. But children these days, they don't have that ability to learn those things and to be able to go out freely outside
You're
because
right.
it's so unsafe.
Yeah, you're right.
And there wasn't the communities that supported those, you all, and said, "Oh, you get home now, it's dark, and off you go back home." Now you just wouldn't even trust anyone to do
Exactly.
that.
It was nowhere near the danger and as bad as it is now. I mean, I'd hate to see my grandkids. I mean, I've got 7 grandkids. I'd hate to see any of my grandkids just wandering off like we used to do.
Yeah.
Because you'd be sending a search party out for them.
Yeah. No,
And
exactly.
you just the world has become a very untrustworthy world at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Not like when we were kids.
Yeah.
We used to get on that railway line. We were enclosed with industry, and everything was moved by rail. Then you see, and they were our motorways.
Yeah.
We used to jump on the railway line was 100 meters off our house.
Incredible.
And we used to jump on them, and we'd walk, or we'd catch a train. It was a goods train, and what we used to do was sit on the banking, wait while the train. There was a signal box not far off our house, and it'd be 200 or 300 yards further up. And they used to slow down then. We used to sit on the banking and throw bricks at the guard out. Because every goods train had a guard out at the bottom.
At the back of it.
At the back of it.
Yeah.
And they all had a little stove in. And Jimmy, soon, if we didn't see one with any smoke coming through, we used to throw bricks at it first to see if the guard came out. And if the guard didn't come out, we all used to jump on that as it slowed down. And we'd get a trip then for 3 or 4 miles up to the coking plant where my dad used to work. When we left the mine, we went to the coking plant. So 3 or 4 miles up there, used to be the coking plant.
And then how did you get back?
And we used to walk back, but we'd walk back then. But the reason we used to jump on the train, on the way back, we'd be raiding barns and the things for chicken eggs all the way back either side of the railway line. And we'd cut through some of the South Yorkshire were massive countries there. You got a massive estate called Wentworth Estate, and some of the railway line used to cut through that estate. But they were heavily keeping. Then if they caught you, they used to give you a good ducking up,
Yeah.
But, even if you were a kid or what, they didn't care.
Yeah, exactly.
We'd walk all the way back, then we'd jump off the guard up, but as soon as it slowed down, jump off that, and we'd walk all the way home. Then it'd take us 3 or 4 hours then or whatever, because you were always nipping in and out at farmyards, and every farmyard had a stack, an A stack, and in that, all ends were free range. Then you see, everything was.
Yeah, nothing was in sheds or locked up.
Everything was based on the farmyard and an oak shed when chickens would get up, after at night time. But most of them, a lot of them, would stop in the haystacks, and we knew it. Every hole you found in an haystack, there'd be a chicken in with a load of eggs in it. We used to come home with loads of eggs and everything. Some had been rotten, that had been they just
sat there for years.
We sat there for years. We used to go and rate dustbins. When we got that many, we used to go and rate dustbins then for the old cardboard egg boxes,
Yeah.
Put them in the egg box and we'd sell them to old ladies, then you see. But
and then you'd sell them.
Half of them would be rotten as well, you see. So
okay.
Away again, get sixpence or something like that.
Yeah.
In them days, if you caught a rabbit, you get £1 for a rabbit then.
Would you really?
Yeah, and £1.
Yeah. That's more than you'd get now for a rabbit.
Yeah. You can't even, kids won't eat them now.
No, they won't.
You get a brace of pheasants. A brace of pheasants then to us were like £2.50, £3 a brace, and the old lady, they used to be waiting for them. They couldn't wait to get out of them.
Yeah.
But kids, and that's the difference. You look at kids then; we'd eat anything. I mean anything. Kids today, if it isn't in a packet under cellophane, they won't eat it. Apart from countryside kids that's been brought up like, they're still bringing up like we to respect the wildlife and also to eat what they shoot,
Yeah. No, totally. And this is actually something that I think that I was going to talk to you about, is that, you are obviously a serious man that gets things done, and you've been very successful. And I was wondering what your thoughts are actually on how do we get more game into our food chains and sort of the general public eating them, because obviously, we all know that there's a lot of pheasants and partridges, and we need to get people eating them again.
We do.
How do we do that?
It's very easy, and it's going to happen quite quickly, really, because food's getting more expensive, and I think game sooner or later is going to make an appearance where it's going to be very affordable. I mean, if you look at the price of food today, it is getting, especially meat, it's getting a bit beyond a joke, and it's getting a bit beyond people's pockets. There's only two things that will get people to eat game, and that's starvation, and more expensive food. So if you keep game at the price it is now, which is nearly for free, because I mean you could go to any keeper in any estate in this country, and they give you a brace of pheasants. They would be,
100%.
be quite happy to give you a brace of pheasants because they want you to convert into a game eater really. So if any advice I give to the estates is don't charge for it.
Yeah.
Give it to
Yeah.
people. Let them try it. And
Let them
a lot-
try it, and then
yeah.
hopefully that will get people eating it, and then that will get everyone talking about it and selling
I
it.
did a film with Beaver Castle.
Oh yes.
Yeah, and she's a proper rooting, tooting, shooting lady. And it was a wonderful film I did with her. And it was great she'd come up with the idea of, long before a lot of other estates, of doing pheasant gougeons
Yes.
and trying to get them into the market. Instead of selling things in the feather,
Mm-hmm.
let's process it ourselves and produce, something that's already ready to eat.
Yes,
I think
exactly.
that's the way forward. And
That's such a good idea. I love that.
yes, it was brilliant. And obviously, I think it was too early to get that done. I think the time is coming now where game will be it'll look a treat.
Yeah, because if you went to a supermarket and you were struggling financially and you saw the frozen chicken nuggets were £5.50 and the frozen pheasant goujons were £2.50,
Yeah.
you'd buy the pheasant goujons.
Now's the time, Tamara, for these. If they want to sell game, right? Now's the time for our governing bodies to
Yeah.
get these to get mobile trailers outside these supermarkets and start giving the produce away to introduce the public who don't understand shooting, but introduce the public to game. Because believe me, pheasant, partridge, anything that comes out of that field that's been raised naturally,
Mm-hmm.
that's lived a good life for 12 months, especially a pheasant and a partridge, right? That is going to be first class food. Higher
Yeah.
in protein, less fat.
Yep.
It's absolutely beautiful. For anybody who wants to go on a diet as well, you couldn't wish for anything better than freshly caught game.
Yeah, exactly.
And now's the time for me and I think prices are going to get even stiffer. Right? Now's the time to hit the market, but let's raise a few quid for it. Let's get it. Let's do it amongst ourselves and get
do
some
it
mobile
amongst the
units.
community. Yeah.
Mobile units in big cities. Get them outside these supermarkets and let people taste. Go with this. You don't need a qualified chef. Any housewife or any farmer's wife can cook it, can make a meal out of any pheasant or partridge.
Yeah,
that will be tasty and suit everybody.
Yeah,
That's what we need to do.
Last Christmas I did a film with Eat Wild, and they were absolutely brilliant. And we went around Henley serving pheasant goujons. That's exactly what we did, and getting people to try them. And as soon as we got them to try them, they were like, oh my God, this is the best thing we've ever had.
Beautiful.
But they did stick their noses up at them. And I did have to really, really try to get them to try it. But, the outcome was positive. So I think if we can all do that in our own ways. So your main love is shooting, and you did come to this later in life, and you just so happened to be incredibly good at it. You were part of the GB team and the English team. That must have been such an extraordinary privilege. What did that teach you, and how did you enjoy it?
Well, it didn't take me very long to get into it. I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years from starting shooting that I actually got in the GB team. And some people have been trying all their life to get in it, 20 or 30 years, all shooting life. So I think I did have a bit of natural ability. I think you do need that. I think what wins most shoots and what takes people to the top, really, if you look at George Digweed, Richard Falls, they've had a long-standing relationship with shooting from an early age. There's 3 things that make one, and that's a top shot, and that's talent, natural talent as well, time, and some of them have got to have a few pounds as well. It's not a cheap hobby getting to the top. But if you look at some of them, like your Sean Bramleys, your Mark Windsors, one or two more natural, what I call natural shots.
Yes.
Sean, especially Sean. Sean, just a working class lad like us. But he was brought up under a gamekeeper's lad, so he did have a gun in his hand all the time, but not clays. He started, I think, in his mid-20s at clay, but soon got there, you know. And Mark Windsor, he's just a normal working class lad. The parents, they're not wealthy people, just normal working people. So Mark had, he got a natural talent as well. So that takes you a little bit further. It's a bit more extreme. It streamlines the way a lot better. And I think that's what helped me out really. And I was always competitive.
Yes, you wanted to win.
Always competitive.
Yeah.
And so I always wanted to be the best at what I did. Obviously, it's not just help starting with one eye at 40-year-old, but you've got to dig your heels in and make the best of what you've got. And to be fair, I've done that. And it's marvellous when you're shooting, especially when you're shooting GB team. And at that time, GB won everything. If you want to go back 15, 20 years, and we used to go to America, Spain, Italy, all over the world really. And even when I were trying to get in the team, it was such a lovely feeling, when on the podium, even the ladies won gold, the juniors won gold, the seniors won gold every time.
Wow.
And the vets. It was, how I used to describe it, wherever you went in the world, right, if you looked at the top 10 in the medals, it used to be 7 out of 10, they were British of the medals. 7 out of 10. Then you gradually, as things went by and it got more expensive to shoot, a lot of the good lads, working class lads, couldn't afford to, it was like 3 or 4 grand. It became more and more
because it's not covered by the government.
Yeah, they used to get. When I first started with the team, you used to get your flights paid for. Only thing you bought was your uniform. So you got your flights paid for. Hotels were all paid for, no matter where you was in the world. They were also good. They all treat you right. And I think you were paid by the Olympic Fund or something like that.
The lotto, Yeah.
And when that stopped, we lost a lot of good lads.
Oh, that stopped.
Just working lads that couldn't afford to go. And then you find
heartbreaking.
You find out then there's it's who can afford to go, not who can afford to go to all the shoots to get a place in the team. Because
I see.
More and more expensive.
Yeah.
There's no subsidy at all. And then you finish up. If you come to a scenario, I think we're just clawing back a little bit now, but you came to a scenario where you lost your good lads like Sean Bramley, Mark Windsor, Kev Joblin, Martin Elworthy, fantastic shooters. Just said, it's not worth going there. We can't afford to do it. And then you finish with a scenario where the top 10 then it started to be 3 Brits and 7 others, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that's. But the standard to get back up there again. So. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, that makes me very happy. Now, as you said, just talking about children and these, and shooting, for me and for you, you started shooting by having a pop around and, having a gun and maybe shooting one bird in the whole day. And, today we've got these very large commercial shoots, and children's first experiences of shooting are sometimes now, a 200-300 bird day. And that's what they expect. And what do you think the best way of getting children into shooting is? For me, it's that traditional way of shooting one bird in the day and having a great fun day out. How do the estates and how do the shoots, offer that? How does that become viable?
I think you were bang on with what you just said there, with getting them out and just doing, going on a nice walk up day. And
Yeah.
all kids were introduced like that at one time or another. And but now, I think I think their states are lacking in some way to matter because I mean I introduce kids on pegs and I've tried to get everything for free if I can. Water Priory and Ben Hughes of Brimfield Park. They do the best. They always put a free day on it. So I have two free days every year. And what I do, I usually put it in. I let Tweedle. If any kid has been on it before, they can only go on it if they're between 10 and 14 years old.
Okay.
I don't know older kids there, you see,
Yeah.
because they can sometimes spoil the day because they can shoot a bit. So we want kids between 10 and 14 years old, and supervised, of course. And what I do, I'll ring Tweedle on when I'm putting it out there, and Tweedle, I'll get all the names in. If they've shot 1 hour or 3 days before, they're not allowed to put the name back in. So
Yes.
it's a fresh
So it's
team every
fair.
year,
Yeah.
right, which is
Yeah.
fair. And it's great because we always finish it with we usually shoot 10 guns. And we always finish it with 3 or 4 girls, and the girls absolutely thrust the lads.
Yes. Come on, girls.
Every year. And it's great to see. And it's in the smiles on them kids' faces, especially when they go to Water Pride and Brimfield Park, where there's always plenty of game for them to shoot. And they get treated like an adult as well. And Frank at Water this last season, what he did, we've got 2 teams. We got our kids on pegs a day, all free of charge, of course, to the kids. And they got I think it was a 300 or 400 bird day. I think it was a 300 bird day. A team, one of their regular teams out. And what he did, he had a word with the regular team. He said, "Do you mind if kids come and join on one of the?" We had a nice mediocre 3 or 4 free drives.
Yeah.
With some nice birds and a few high birds amongst them, but killable birds for the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "We're going to do on the last drive. We're going to do one of our mega drives, which was Tom's opposite Angels. It's a fantastic drive. He said, we're going to put the kids in front of the main guns quite safely, 10 or 15 yards in front of them, and the kids are going to get the first shots at them. You see, and it were brilliant. And they sort of staggered the kids in between the main team, and some of the kids shot better than
some of the adults. Yeah.
The main team.
Yeah, exactly. Do you see big high bird days that are seen as sort of the luxury of shooting? Do you see this as a bit problematic for shooting as a sport?
Well, I've always been, I kick myself sometimes because I think, well, obviously I started this extreme bird, that's what they call it now, extreme bird shooting. And
right.
In some ways I think, well, the estate and the game shooting world operated beautifully without me or anybody else. They used to put 250 to 350 bird days, and it worked perfectly. A lot of tradesmen, hard-working people could afford half a dozen days a year, and that seems to have slipped by now because it's become so expensive.
Yes.
And there's people wanting a set target, a 350 to a 500 bird day on a high bird day as a specialist gun, and you're talking now between £3,000 and £3,500 for a day like that.
Wow!
So it's not that per gun, So my first, and I still remember it. Look, it was a beautiful little estate. They used to shoot between 125 to 175 bird days, and that was £3,500 per year. And you got 12 days, 10 days in the coverts, and 2 outside days walking around.
Yeah.
And so if you see how things have
changed, yeah,
25 years ago, nearly 30 years ago, to now,
Do you think that we need to go back to that?
I think we need to regulate it more.
Yeah.
Going back to giving people a chance to get out in the countryside and to be able to shoot game
More accessible.
and go
Yeah.
back to. Oh, I can't understand why estates, if they're doing between 300 and 500 bird days, they can't slip a few days, 100 to 150 bird days.
Yeah,
To
exactly.
get more of the outside groups further back into shooting, instead of having to give it up.
Yeah.
And a classic example is Water Priory, because Water Priory now, although I think their 500 bird days, they'll be I think the £3,600, £3,500 for a day. But Water Priory now, and for the last 3 or 4 years, has been doing 200 bird days. And Frank, he can, because it's such a vast estate, he can put 2 teams out on the same day.
Oh, wow.
So what he'll do a couple of 200 bird days in that week, where another team out shooting maybe 300 bird day or a 500 bird day.
Yeah.
Because of the estate is so vast, and it doesn't interfere with his main.
With each other.
It gives everybody else a chance, because they're like, I think £1,400 a day, something like that.
Yeah, much more accessible. Yeah,
which any tradesman then can say, I'm going to save a few quid to go
exactly to do that one day.
At Water Priory.
Yeah,
yeah. But it needs a lot. There's only a few estates do that. You see, and it needs all the estates to do that, because you'll get more and more people back into game shooting.
Yeah.
At the moment, people are thinking, well, I ain't paying that. I can't afford to go. I'm packing in.
Yeah.
And so they shoot themselves in the foot.
Totally.
The estates. And I mean, I put my hands up in the air sometimes, and I think, well, I can't even get them to put a 50 bird day out for kids, and I'll pay for it myself. And I've done in the past, pay for it out of my own pocket. And what does it take for an estate, a massive estate that's got plenty of birds down, to put a 50 bird on for it? If every estate in this country
did that,
or just one 50 bird day for kids, imagine how many people they'd attract back into shooting.
Yeah.
And they'll say, well, they can't afford to shoot anyway. What point do you do? I said, well, they might be able to do one day. I said, out of that little team of kids, I said, there might be 2 of them become millionaires. You don't know, Or they might be, become wealthy people.
Yeah, but also, like you said, if it's accessible and good country people, then people will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I do, Tamara, one thing about the countryside and country folk, and especially shooting, it turns young boys into gentlemen and young girls into ladies.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with the countryside or shooting.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand all that.
Yeah. Dave, we're now gonna head to your rural life, and I've sort of got stuck into your life. It's been so fascinating. But we're going to start with the person that anchored you, that taught you about the countryside and the magic of it. Who was that?
Well, a little old man called Ivan Vicentic, and he's dead now, but he was an Hungarian refugee to England,
right?
Who was he still had the tattoo, who was a captive by the Nazis in a prisoner of war camp, and he still had the tattoo on his wrist. I can remember it to this day. Can't remember what the number was, but I can remember it.
Wow.
And he lived in, when they escaped, he joined the partisans, of course, and he lived in the forest for about 12 months before they made their way to England. And they were just about to go back and fight the Nazis when the war ended.
Yeah.
So meeting and marrying a local girl, 3 beautiful daughters, And I met him in the field one day, because back of our house were the railway lines, of course, and in between the railway lines, there was a farm. They had about 250 acres trapped landlocked really with the railway lines.
Yes.
But our rabbiting adventures were based around the railway lines, you see, because every railway line were a fountain of wildlife. Everything you could catch it on the railway because all the bankings were full of briars and gorse and everything. And of course, we used to walk at the top of the railway line, send the dogs in the briars or under the signal box. You used to get another rabbit there, and you get a dog that marked a set, put the ferrets in, and we finished it with a couple of rabbits. And how I met him, I was actually on his. I was ferreting part of banking, and there were a couple of bolt holes in the field. So I jumped over the fence, netted these holes, and just got for a rabbit. And what you're doing here?
Oh.
And it was the first time I met Jivan, and he stood there with his hook side by side. It was broken actually, didn't have it pointed at me. What you doing here? I said, so I'd be about 12 years old. Oh, I'm sorry, mister. I'm just picking my ferrets up. If you help me with you, I've got a lot of rabbits round here. If you help me with your ferrets and your dog, and I might let you have a shot. And that's how the conversation started, you see. So that's the very first
What
time.
a lovely man.
The very first time I should have gone was with Jivan Vicente, the very first time. And we got talking and everything, and it was marvellous to listen to his adventures, when he were behind enemy lines and, trying to get home, or, they were bombing railway lines and doing all kinds of things. To me, then, he were like, bloody hell, they were like a superhero to me.
Yes, totally.
And the things he'd seen in the war. And anyway, put a long story short, they got an old 410, an old Whipple Scott 410, single barrel bolt action. And he said, you meet me here tomorrow, and I got some rabbit warrens, fetch your dog and your ferrets, and I'll fetch a little 410, if he got the cartridge and everything. And this little 410 with a bolt action Whipple Scott. He said, when he gave it me, he said, be careful, when you slide the bolt back, he said, sometimes it goes off. So I thought, crikey.
Oh my goodness! Had you lost your eye by then?
Oh yes, I lost my eye.
So you knew how dangerous they were.
Yeah. So I thought, guys, be careful, David. When you slide the bolt back, sometimes it goes off on its own. So, anyway, and what we used to do then, he used to send me at top of railway banking on the railway line side, and he had a Labrador. He used to work the railway banking. Well, he would never go on top of the railway because he was an adult. He would have got fined, you see, if he got caught. But if we got caught, because we were still youth,
underage, yeah,
they just give you
off you go,
logo and bugger off, you see. So
yeah.
So I used to be on the top of the railway banking, and with my lurchy dog up there, and we were working the bank until we got a few rabbits hauled up, and then we'd net him up and put the ferries down and catch a few rabbits. And one of the fondest memories, because we were all pot hunting to Jivan, he was brought up starving, everything there when they was on the run in the big forest in Germany. They lived off the land, you see. So he was a pot hunter, and we get like 5, 6 o'clock, something like that, and the partridge used to gather then in groups, roosting, you see. You maybe get dozens at a time in a roost on the floor, not in trees, as you know, on the floor, just in case somebody doesn't know that.
Yeah.
And we'd sneak up on these, they'd be very quiet, and you could hear them clucking up, you see, getting ready to roost. And you were still a little bit, not completely dark, And he'd fire, get ready, he'd fire into the centre of them, you see, kill as many as he could. I was the gopher then. I had to run out to pick as many as I could before.
And you had to pick them.
Yeah, I had to run out then, and they'd be scattering all over wounded and everything. I had to run out there, catch as many as I could before Lurchy took off with them. You see, Lurchy will see 1 or 2 of them if he could get out of them, and you finish it with 6 or 7 partridges. But that was
an amazing day.
There was nothing sporting about it whatsoever.
Yeah.
To Jivan, It was purely pot hunting, still feeding his family, you see.
Exactly. Yeah,
And everybody
necessity.
did that. Everybody did that one, in them days. They didn't go out and go and put that pheasant up and let me shoot it, spot it. So we used to
No.
sneak up on them and
Ex-
sneak up and get as near as we could, so we make sure we killed them.
Yeah, but it was a necessity. It wasn't a
Yeah,
sport.
exactly.
It was something that you
Yeah.
needed to survive as a family.
I mean,
Yeah.
our most enjoyous time were the harvest time, you see. And farmers sometimes let you go follow the combine harvester if you got to know them and they could trust you. They'll let you go with lurch but we used to run them to death ourselves. Little leverage, they couldn't get over the rows of late corn, you see. And if a 12-year-old kid is like Olympic Christian, is as fit as a fiddle. You'll never be as fit as you were when you were 12, 14-year-old. You'll know that yourself.
Never.
And we used to run them and run them, run them. And if you ain't a dog, and they soon get tired, you see, going over the things, and we catch them ourselves,
Wow, that's so cool.
Leverage. And
So where's Dave? Where is we're going to move on to your place that lives inside you. And I mean, the countryside is part of you. Where is the place? I mean, I loved your message to me about the Isle of Stroma, just off the tip of John O'Groats, and where you would go in your teenage years. Tell us about that.
Well, it's another great story, Jemima. Just we'd be in his teens then. I'd be a couple of lads, well, 2 or 3 lads I used to go with, they'd be 2 or 3 years older than me. They'd be like sort of 19, 20-year-olds working, and I'd be sort of maybe 15, 16-year-old at the time, something like that. I can't remember. And we'd get an old car or something, whatever they could afford, and we'd set off as far as we could. The idea was to set off as far as we could get up Scotland and hunt all the way up. We used to take a 2-tool rifle, little short shot bullet gun.
Yeah.
What we used to share, And all the way up we'd be knocking on farmers' doors. Can we do a bit of rabbit? Oh yes, there's thousands up Scotland. There were thousands all over anyway. And we'd shoot a few there. And when we got into Bro Ra, where the salmon leavers there, we used to swap a few rabbits for a couple of salmon, you see, and we'd be living like kings all the way up, just camping out until we got to, when we first went up, we landed at a place called Wick. We managed to get the car as far as Wick and then it broke down altogether.
Oh no.
Yeah, it were wrecked altogether, sort of thing. No idea how to fix it, but we're only about a mile and a half outside this town called Wick, anyway. We managed to get to. We walked it into Wick. These lads wanted to have a drink, so this is another funny story, but this is how it was then.
Yeah.
We went to a local pub, because it'd be about 9 o'clock then. So I don't think I were old enough to drink anyway. Anyway, we went in this local pub, and these 2 lads who liked to drink, who were they'd be in the 19 and 20-year-old. What time does pub shut? Because everything shut it. If you remember, well, you won't remember because you're not old enough, are you? How old are you anyway? Are you 30 yet?
Oh, stop! I am closer to the 40 than the 30.
Right.
Yes.
Anyway, you still won't remember. You will probably remember them days when you could go in the pub. But Sunday time, it finished at 10:30 in the week. Closing time was 11 o'clock. That were it was shut. I mean, they open till people die now, don't they? Anyway,
till people die.
Yeah, we got into this local pub in Wick, which is a little town not far off John O'Groats, and a little coastal town. And I said, "What time is the pub shut, mister?" To the landlord. He says, "When he goes home." I said, "There's this old boy sat in the corner." I said, "Who was he?" He said, "Local Bobby." He said,
oh no.
He said, "He might be sat there while 1 o'clock." He said, "Just buy him a drink." He might be sat there. They didn't close the pub till that copper went home.
Till he went home.
Yeah, so he was drunk every night, you see, because we used to buy a drink just to stay open, And fantastic stories. Anyway, we We sort of dropped down. Have you got a garage? He said, yes, we've got a fantastic. Jimmy will sort you out. Anyway, we managed to get this car going, so we dragged it up to Wick for us, and we were camping out at Wick at Sarnet River. Anyway, we went back into the pub against the second night, and so we were up here looking for a bit of rabbiting, with rifle or ferrets and one thing or other. I said, you want to go and see Jimmy Walker? He owns the island of Stroma. He said, a fisherman and a farmer. He said, he farms, he has all his sheep on the island. He said, he goes there once a week to tend them to make sure they're okay. He said, it's full of rabbits because it's uninhabited, the island. They just left the cottages.
Yeah, it's just...
And went...
Yeah.
They couldn't, it were a fisherman town, you see. And they couldn't get a living, so they all buggered off. Anyway, afterwards, Elena gave us his address. We went to see Jimmy Walker. Now then, Jimmy would come all the way from England looking for, tell me you've got a lot of rabbits on stuff. Oh, thousands. He said, well, the farmer had already told us, take a bottle of whiskey with you. He loves whiskey. So we took this bottle of whiskey. His eyes lit up. When do you want to go, lads? So anyway, we set off in his fishing boat. It's half a mile off the coast, is Stroma. So
wow, that's
we set
cool.
off in the fishing boat, these teenagers like, and of course it's derelict. There's only the lighthouse on the thing, and the lighthouse keeper. The rest of it's derelict. Anyway, cut a long story short, you can stop in my old cottage, and all the things what he had in this old cottage were a settee and a rocking chair. So all the lads, they slept on settee, and I slept in this rocking chair. It was bare earthen ground, nothing, no carpets, nothing, just bare earth and an old running tap. That was on it fresh water. It's a big old brass tap with some fresh water, like. So we were like, that were heaven to us, we couldn't believe it. He said, if you see any of them damn seals, he says, can you shoot them for me, boys? So he hated them, you see. Because he was a fisherman.
They ate his seals, his fish.
They were eating his living, you see. So,
yeah, they ate his fish.
Anyway, I said, that thing of ours won't kill them. He says, this one will. And he fetched an oak 303 out of the cupboard.
And that's is that a big shotgun?
It's 303. This one, they were an old army 303. There's some shells there. So we'll leave that alone. We won't bother the seal. We like to see them. I said, all right. Jimmy will sort one or two out. Anyway, cut a long story short, he said, whatever you do, because he's true. He got all his sheep on there, and he got one red stag. Right?
One.
And they called it George.
Right.
Got one red stag. I said, well, how come it's on its own? Did you fetch it across? He said, we had a herd. He said, but all the hinds swung back to the mainland. And George stayed where he was. He wouldn't go. So I just got this one red stag with no hinds. He said, but anyway, he said, whatever you do, he said, all the rabbits, he said, they're all around the cottage gardens. He said, they don't come out of the garden because of the skewers, which is a massive seabird. They'll kill anything, like a golden eagle up there. And they are ruthless, these skewers. And they're patrolling all the time, you see. So we had to literally go in the gardens. And every paving slab you lift up, there were 2 or 3 rabbits under it. There were thousands of them.
Wow.
So I think we killed 200 or 300 in the first night.
So you were eating rabbit legs just for the next week.
Yeah, anyway, we're nuts. And I thought, so let's back in with this. I said, what can we do with them? It's no good killing them to rot away. We're not going to be going on we're not going to get on for 3 or 4 days. Anyway, we met we went and knocked on the lighthouse keeper's door then. And just introduced ourselves. And he said, do you like lobster, boys? I said, yeah. I said, what's that? I'd never tasted lobster. We hadn't, never seen one. I said, and he went on his own, but that was his part of his upkeep. He got lobster pots all over, you see. So anyway, he fetched us this lobster out and he cooked it and everything. I thought, oh, this is fantastic, this. We'd never tasted anything like that, you see.
Oh, that's so cool.
Then he fetched us a couple of, he said, do you like fish? I said, yeah, I love it. He said, "Come on, I'll show you how to catch them." And he got some carpet poles. You'll not remember the big old cane carpet poles.
No, I do know that kept it down. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it got two big carpet poles about 12, 15 foot long, right, and 100-pound line strung off top of this these carpet poles with a big lump of lead at the end with some big treble hooks stuck in the lead, right? And all he used to do, we used to just shine the lead up. He showed us what to do. Shine the lead up with a knife so it glittered.
Right.
Just drop it over. It was a good hand at rocks then. Just drop it over the rocks there. Just give it that. A fish on every time. So we lived
Every time.
every single time. We're unreal. Yeah. I mean, everything was full of wildlife, full of fish. We're all protected, you see. Anyway, we lived like kings then. We were on lobster, and the first time we'd ever tasted eider duck. So a big flocks of eider duck there. So we shot one of them. So we lived for 3 or 4 days. We lived on lobster, eider duck, and coley fish.
Wow, like kings, happy days.
Lived like kings, you see.
Yeah,
Like Huckleberry Finn. It was brilliant, and he said, whatever you do, he said, if you hear the foghorn go to the first building you see. He said, don't walk on the island. There's a massive hole in the island, you see, and we saw it in the day. We come across it in the daytime, and there was sheep all over it, where they fell down this hole. So soon as you hear the foghorn, if you're near one of the cottages, go into the cottage. He said, wait till it goes. He said, because you get that sea fret, that sea fog.
You can't see anything.
You can't see a thing, and it disorients you altogether.
Yep.
And you wander all over the place. He said, you might finish up down that. Yeah, there were 2 or 3 of these holes. So,
and then he won't come out.
Yeah.
Stuck on the island forever.
Yeah.
Dave, I'm gonna move on just because we're running out of time, and I would just love our listeners to hear your possession, because it comes with a fantastic story, as does everything that you've told us. Tell us about the possession with the story.
About what?
About a possession.
A possession?
Yeah, your award that you won at the town hall.
Yes, yeah. Well, it was a bit devious, all this tomorrow, really. I shouldn't have really won it. I didn't really deserve it, because I was really the cause of it. But gypsies used to leave their horses now and again in a field nearby our house, and not far off the railway line. And now and again we'd catch 1 or 2 up and make an halter or something out of a bit of baling twine or whatever we could get hold of, a bit of rope, and we'd catch 1 or 2 up and just ride them all day and then put them back in field at night, you see, And
just borrow them.
But just borrow them, you see.
Yep.
Yeah. Anyway, we decided we're gonna go on another horsey adventure. So anyway, we managed to catch one. It was a mare. What we used to do was catch them, then run. There used to be railway tunnels, right, that opened up into the fields. Then you see. So we used to go through the railway tunnels, and so nobody knew what we're up to. Take the horses through there. Anyway, it had been everything was flooded. It had been a hell of a rainfall for 2 or 3 days. When we got through the tunnel, the railway tunnel, that opened up into this massive field, big 50-acre field, in between the railway lines, it was all flooded, apart from the hills, the hilly side part of it, which was another 100 yards, where you got to go through. It had made a lake.
Yes, yeah.
If I get my shoes and socks wet, my dad will kill me. So how are we going to get that horse across there, So anyway, it was flooded right up to the railway banking, up to the sides, about 2 foot high. But the railway fencing was what's called made of bell wire. It was concrete posts, and slung in between was this thick wire, 3 or 4 mil thick. Well, as kids we used to get on it and walk across it, you see, walk up and down it until we got over wherever we were trying to get over. All right. I said, I'll take that mare. So I'll get on that fence. I said, I'll walk up, I'll scrim up on the bell wire, and like a tightrope walker sort of thing.
Yes, and not get your feet and shoes wet.
Got this mare in one hand as well, and I'm just above the water line, you see. Gets 15 or 20 yards into this, all of a sudden this bloody mare tried to jump over the fence to me. I've got it on a bit of a lead. tried to jump over this fence to me and got straddled across the top wire.
Oh
What
no.
are we going to do here? This poor old mare, can't remember. I thought she was in 4 at the time as well. I can't remember now. But it looked like she was because it cut in. Her belly were hung that far over the bloody fence, and it was cutting in this way. Oh, bloody hell, we were panicking, you see, so couldn't do anything. It was just suspended.
Yeah.
Let's all run off like. And didn't tell anybody. You see, I thought we're going to be in some serious trouble here. You know, if it's hurt, we might die. Anyway, I was sat it out, biting my fingernails, bloody to death. I thought somebody's bound to see us. We're going to get into some trouble. I'm going to go back down there. So I took nicked a loaf of bread out at pantry. So just went down on my own. Anyway, I took a pair of pliers and I thought, if I can get this bell wire off its belly, I'll be able to sort of rescue it. So I went back down there. Couldn't do anything with these wires. Just weren't strong enough. I was only be 12-year-old at the time.
Yeah.
And I just weren't strong enough to get this wire cut. So I'm sat there. I thought, I'll give it a slice of bread while I'm here. Of course, we're on bottom of the railway line, aren't we? The main rail line's above us. Anyway, I'm giving it a piece of bread, which it did eat. It did eat the bread. And as I was feeding another slice, I heard these voices, and they must have seen it were railway workers. Anyway, they come tumbling down. What's going off? I said, I don't know. I've just found it like this. An hour or two ago, I've been up and fetched it a loaf of bread. I'm just feeding it. I'm just sat here with it. Don't tell me when you put it there. Anyway, got a long story short, the fetched a vetting and it were all right. It had just scared it there, sort of thing. They cut all the wire off it and everything. It was in the newspaper and everything, and the gypsy that owned it actually gave me a £5 as a reward.
Oh, for saving his horse.
A £5 as a reward. Then I got a Queen's Award then from RSPCA, which I had to go to local town hall then, Barnsley Town Hall, to collect this. I can't even remember who actually presented the award to me. I think it was some dignitaries or something anyway. But I've still got the book to this day. I should have fetched it really.
That is so cool, Dave. Well, listen, I could talk to you forever. And what I really want you to do is write a book, because your stories are so wonderful and fascinating and intriguing. I know, but that's why they need to be written down. So please, if you can and do have the time, please jot them all down for
I don't think anybody want to read what I've got to write.
They will, honestly, because they're just fascinating. But if there was one thing that you could take forward or hand down to generations, or about the rural life into the rest of your life, a habit or a truth, what would that be?
Well, I would want every countryman or woman to encourage as many children as they can into the shooting world, or any countryside pastime. Yeah. Because I just think it makes. I think it made me in a way, and it's made me, my daughters and my son. They've all been involved with the countryside, and I just think it does make young people into better people.
Yeah.
I do.
I couldn't agree more.
With the countryside. I don't matter what it is. It's ice skating up a river or a lake or whatever, shooting, fishing. It's all good for the soul.
Yeah.
And one of my fondest memories, and I don't think I haven't heard it for a long time, is a nice, beautiful wooded area. The sun coming through after a nice rainfall and the cuckoo going. And there's nothing sounds better than a cuckoo. And a nice woodland setting. And I haven't heard that cuckoo for 7 or 8 years now, which is a shame.
Yeah.
We've got so much in this country going for us, Why do the people want to close it down?
Yeah.
To be expanding it, not closing it down. We've got something in this country that nobody else has got in the world.
No, and that's why they come here.
That's why they come here.
Yeah.
And that's why they like to watch my films. And one of the main things they say to me is, please, Dave, don't let them close it down.
Yeah.
Try and keep
fighting.
Keep it as pristine as you can.
Yeah.
But every year I see a step backwards. I do. and we've got
Yeah.
to start.
Well, we need to all stand
forward
firm,
instead.
stand firm, and stand together, and
Vote for
support one
reform.
another.
Vote for reform, Mr. Farage. At least he's a bit of a countryman. He feels empathy for the farmers and for the countryside. So that's a start.
That is a start. Well, listen, Dave, thank you so much for talking to me today and coming on the Farmette podcast. I am so grateful, and it's been a total pleasure to meet you.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening or watching. Please share and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And I will see you next week.